Hey, what's up everyone and welcome to the Footy Fix. Melbourne has just received harder lockdowns, so I'm starting a new YouTube channel. Now, this exact video will be dedicated to the AFL season of 2020, starting at round 9. How do we talk about this without being mean? The Collingwood Football Club were fined $50,000 for breaching hub life law. Collingwood coach Nathan Buckley and assistant coach Brendon Sanderson, who just so happened to be his best friend, were out playing tennis with an Australian champion and her coach. I don't know what to say here, but they got what's coming to them, and they will be paying $25,000 each out of their own pocket. It wasn't just Collingwood who breached hub life laws, but Nathan Buckley and Brendon Sanderson were probably the highest profile people who broke these rules. The Hawthorn Football Club also broke some rules, and they will also be receiving a $50,000 fine. Carlton, North Melbourne and Richmond have also received fines, but their fines are only $45,000. But yeah, I'd like to know what you guys think about the breach of these hub life laws from the AFL community. They could have been stuck in Melbourne like the rest of us, but they got sent to Queensland and WA where it's nice and warm, and they're breaching all these restrictions. It's just not fair to those of us who live in Melbourne who have just been handed harsher restrictions. But that's my takeaway from it. Why don't you guys let me know what you think? The round started with the Western Bulldogs taking on the Richmond Tigers at Metricon Stadium. Now, the Tigers won convincingly. Now, this was supposed to be an interesting game because the Western Bulldogs are a decent team. However, it wasn't until after the game where I realised that the Western Bulldogs actually haven't beaten anyone who's any good. They beat the Greater Western Sydney Giants, but that's it. So I don't know, maybe that's a sign of things to come from the Bulldogs. The Richmond Tigers actually won this game quite convincingly. The next game was Port Adelaide versus Melbourne at the Gabba, and unfortunately this was another one-sided affair. Port Adelaide kicked the poop out of Melbourne. That's what happened. Port Adelaide, 12 goals, 11 behinds, 83, to 4 goals, 8, 32. Not good enough, Melbourne. I feel like we've been waiting for Melbourne to just come on the scene and explode and become a good team for all these years now. But it's just not happening. All I can really say about this game is that Melbourne are just no good. But Port Adelaide are currently the best team in the league. They sit on top of the ladder. So maybe that's just a sign of Port Adelaide's dominance. The next game was Carlton versus Hawthorn at Optus Stadium. Carlton 9 goals 4, 58 to Hawthorn's 14 goals 5, 89. Now this was actually an interesting game. There was this point in the first quarter where Carlton were winning 31-0. And it wasn't until then in the first quarter where Hawthorn kicked their first goal. It was kicked by Will Day, and this was his first goal in AFL football. This really kicked the Hawks into gear. I saw this meme on the internet that described how Hawthorn performed perfectly. Carlton did look switched on in that first quarter. Unfortunately, it just seemed as if Hawthorn had an extra gear in them to flip a switch and just go, we're on now. The next game was the Essendon Bombers versus the Brisbane Lions at Metricon Stadium. This was another case of one of the ladder leaders belting the poop out of one of the lower teams. So, Brisbane are a good side. Charlie Cameron kicked an amazing goal from the boundary. And that's all there really is to say about that game. I mean, what more can you say? Brisbane were amazing. Essendon were not. North Melbourne versus Adelaide. Now, this was another one-sided affair. However, there were moments in this game that put a big fat grin on my face. Jack Daw, 2 years away from footy, and he kicked the goal. Now, Jack Daw's struggles in the past have been well documented, but I'll leave you a link in the comment section below to a speech that Dermot Brereton gave. He summed up the moment perfectly. Another interesting thing about this game was that the legendary Bryce Gibbs was announced, as if that was going to make a difference. Now, there's been a lot of huff and puff from the media out there going on about how Bryce Gibbs can't get a game in this poopy team. Now, let's put it this way. Bryce Gibbs was selected, didn't make a difference. No. North Melbourne scored 19 goals, 5 behinds, 119. To Adelaide, 7 goals, 850. Another interesting thing about this game is that Ben Brown was left out of the team. And North Melbourne managed to find 11 individual goal scorers for that massive score that they kicked. Does Ben Brown make the team next week? Do they leave him out because of the form that they're in? Or was it simply a case that North Melbourne was versing the worst team in the comp? I'd be interested to hear your guys' thoughts on this one. As of the recording of this video, it has been exactly a year since Adelaide have won a game in AFL football. So yeah, these are rare times we find ourselves in. The next game was St.Kilda versus Sydney. St.Kilda, 15 goals, 11 behinds, 101 points. To Sydney's 6 goals, 12, 48. Surprise, another one-sided affair. St.Kilda are actually going really well at the moment. They are currently the highest scoring team in the league, and they're sitting third on the ladder. One of the key points that I wanted to talk about from this game was Dane Rampy's broken hand. Carlisle of the St. Kilda Football Club was clearly seen to be trying to aggravate the wound during the game. It looks like he will receive some scrutiny from the match review panel, but I don't know. What do you guys think about this? If you're out there injured, do you deserve to be targeted like that? I know there's actually a rule against it, but ethically speaking, where do you stand with this? I know that there are people out there that believe if you're out there injured, you deserve to be a target. I am of the opinion that you should never deliberately try to hurt your opponent. But that's just me. The next game was one of the match of the rounds, the West Coast Eagles versus Geelong at Optus Stadium. This was a sick match, guys. If you missed it, try to catch a replay. West Coast are actually playing really good footy at the moment. The scores were 11 goals 7-73 to 10 goals 4-64. Chris Scott actually said after the game that the problem with versing West Coast is that you can kick a goal against them, but then the ball goes back to the middle. The problem being, when the ball goes back to the middle, Nick Natanui's there. And he will win the ball for them. Just when everyone thought Brady Grundy was the best ruckman in the league, Nick Naitanui has put on a few performances to stake his claims of being the best ruckman in the comp at the moment. I don't know, personally I think maybe Grundy might be more consistent, but on his day, Nick Naitanui, no one is going to beat him in the ruck. No one. Anyways, not only was he winning all the hitouts, but he even had 6 scoring involvements in the game. Oh, and on another note, Kennedy's on fire. He kicked 4 goals on the back of his 7 goals last week. Kennedy actually hasn't missed a shot at goal since round 7. Crazy, right? The next game was the Suns versus the Giants at Metricon Stadium. The Suns scored 4 goals 11-35. Great score, right? Great job, Gold Coast. Great job. To the Giants, 9 goals 7-61. The most notable thing that happened in this game was that the Giants won and that Toby Green got a hamstring injury in the first quarter. So it was an unfortunate day for them. But the Giants are in the 8. And that's a good thing, I guess. And now for the last game of the round, Fremantle versus Collingwood. Fremantle versus Collingwood at Optus Stadium. Fremantle, 10 goals 1-61. That's right, they only scored 1 behind for the entire game. To Collingwood, 7 goals 7-49. This was actually one of the better games of the round. The game started kind of slow, with Collingwood only kicking 8 points to Fremantle's 0 in the first quarter. But during a quarter-time interview, Nat Fife acknowledged Collingwood's strong starts, making it sound like Fremantle made a big effort to make sure that Collingwood didn't get a big score in the end of the first quarter. It looked like Fremantle were playing overly defensively, just so that Collingwood wouldn't get a monster score in that first quarter. That interview at the end of the first quarter made it seem like it was Fremantle's game plan all along. This was actually a really good game. I highly recommend watching it if you missed it on replay. It wasn't really until the last minute where the game was won. So there you have it. There's my first video. Let me know what you think of the comment section below. Let me know if I missed anything. Bring up things you guys want to talk about the season so far. I'd love to hear your thoughts and comments in the comment section below. Anyways, that's it from me. See ya.